You know, here at home, I love to talk to the youth of fishing, the kids, and I just did a seminar the other day at the Bernie Bass Club of Champions here in Bernie, Texas. One of the kids, you know, I love it when they're brave enough to raise their hands and ask a question. He said, "Hey, what kind of knot do you tie when you spool up a new reel?" You know, they got me thinking this would be a great tip. This would be a great opportunity to share this with everybody out there, at least how I like to do it. I know everybody's different, but right off the bat, I like to use old reels with old line for backing. So this is an old reel and it's got some braid on there. I like braid because it's pretty soft. So I'm gonna start off by backing, and with the backing, I'm just gonna thread it through there. And the first most important thing I do, I don't want to attach this line to this reel. What you're doing is, if this thing happens to hit free spool while you're driving down the lake at 60 miles an hour and the line's peeling off, if it hits a knot, a hard knot, it's gonna jerk the rod right off the deck of the boat or right out of the boat. Why have a hard knot at the end was always my question. So a lot of people like to use tape. A lot of people like to just kind of work it in there. With this Trika reel, there's actually a little hole. When they were designing this reel, I told them they need to come up with a little hole right there. So now I just put the line in there. So now the line is in that little hole, and the first couple cranks, I'm just gonna sit there and just get it to spin around. Now, check this out. I'm spinning it around, and now I have a grip on it. So now I've taken, and that line is just in that hole. If you can see that right there. If that line comes out, if it goes all the way out, if I hit free spool by accident, driving down the road in my truck or running down the lake in my boat, and it gets to the point where it gets all the way to the end, the line is just gonna come out and you're not gonna lose your whole rod, your whole reel, your whole combination. So that's already in there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this backing on, and like I said, I'm using an old reel with some old braid on there. It's nice and soft. Brand new Trika Rod and Reel, so I'm gonna crank that down, and now I'm adding backing. So here I am adding the backing to it, and it's coming right off of there, and I just want to get a good start going because I don't need a full reel of my expensive good fluorocarbon or my brand new line. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to thread it through the guide, and I have a nice set of backing there. I crank this thing down so it doesn't spin too freely. I want that thing cranked all the way down. So I'm cranking down that thing so it doesn't spin easily. Now what knot am I going to tie with this? Same thing, I don't need a heavy duty knot. These fish are not gonna get all the way to this backing, at least I hope not. I don't do this for saltwater, but in freshwater, I don't need that much line out, so I'm just gonna do a basic, easy knot. Nothing crazy, nothing that's gonna have a lot of integrity to it, because when they get to my backing, most likely it's not a fish, it's just something's gone bad or whatever, and you know the line's peeling off, and again, this is a safety measure. I'm just doing a simple loop knot. One loop through, pop it through, and that's it, just that little knot. You know what, if I get to that point right there, and it's that point, it's just gonna pull right out. Just like the line coming off of there, it's not gonna hold real well. But right now, it's just gonna put these two lines together and be strong enough. My dentist hates when I do that. I always get crap from my dentist for cutting my line with teeth, but I've been doing it my whole life. Now that's in there. So now that's set. Nice little narrow, small knot cut down. And then the last thing I do with the spool, the last thing I do is I want it coming off of the top of the spool to my reel. So I'm gonna have it right there, and I'm gonna start peeling that line off. With spinning rods, you want it to rotate off here onto the spinning reel. If you can imagine that, so you don't get line twist. So rotating off and rotating onto the spinning reel. With bait casters, you want it coming off the top of the spool directly to the line. So right here like that, I'm gonna start reeling, I'm gonna put a stick down, and I'm gonna fill up. You guys know how to do it the rest of the way. Just put a stick down, and I'm gonna reel all that line in. And that is how I like to spool up a brand new rod and reel. You know, this Trika Rod and Reel is extremely expensive. This is like a $600 combo. And I don't wanna lose this thing because of a hard knot at the reel or a hard knot at the splice between the backing and the line. So now I'm just gonna fill that thing up, and I'm ready to go fishing.